So I was struggling this week to come up with a topic for this video. And I've been working really long hours at my day job and I'm just moving into a new house. I'm just exhausted. And I literally fell asleep at the keyboard. But I didn't realize this. No, I was just going along, typing at the page, and suddenly, the words on the screen, I couldn't read them. And I was looking, I moved forward at the screen and suddenly went blank. I tried restarting my computer, but it wouldn't come on. And suddenly my fourth grade teacher, Sister Antoinette Marie, burst into the room and started yelling at me, "How did you break that computer?" And then suddenly she's 10 feet tall. And I try to run away, but it's like my feet are encased in lead and I'm moving along and I'm being chased by this gigantic nun. And then just as she was about to catch me, suddenly I could fly. And it was amazing. I'm flying up, looking down at my neighborhood, just enjoying it. And then it ends, and then I'm plummeting towards the earth, and I'm screaming, and then just before I hit, I wake up, and I'm sitting at my computer. It was only a dream, and a dream that had every cliche from every dream I've ever had. But of course, I'm still sitting there thinking, what am I going to do this week for my video? And aha! Hello again, gang. KR King here, helping you homebrew your own D&D campaign. And today I'm going to be talking about using dreams to, give your players information or some effect or just atmosphere. And dreams have been around since the beginning of D&D because they have such a rich, cultural and literary history. I've read that it was dreams that convinced early man that there was an afterlife because, they would see dead members of their tribe in dreams and, there wasn't a lot of separation in terms of the dream world and the real world. And even after people realized, the dream is something that occurs in the brain, they still saw it as potentially, a portents for something that might happen, messages from, the other realms. And even with the rise of psychological knowledge, dreams are seen as signifiers of our, hidden desires or fears, and they are often portrayed that way in modern, novels and movies. And then when you combine dreams with the fantastical world of D&D, you have an opportunity to, implant knowledge into the brains of your player characters. But, no sooner did we start using dreams in D&D that they became, a cliched, sort of cheap and easy way to hand out information. Because it was information that the players didn't, deserve from the actions that they'd taken, and the GM, hadn't presented his world in such a way that they could figure this out themselves. So the players are in a dungeon and they're stuck, or they're even outside, they're at a loss to go somewhere. Then they go to sleep and the information comes to them in a dream. Players are like, really? All I had to do was go to sleep? You don't want to do that. But you also don't want to discard a classic source of cryptic information or flavor to your campaign. So the key to using dreams to impart information, or effects to your players is to, 1, use them sparingly, 2, have them properly motivated, and 3, to make the information or effects dreamlike. And the first rule about using them sparingly is impacted by the second. If the players find a ring whose sole purpose is to give the wearer information in dreams, then they're going to have this dream information, fairly regularly. But that's a very special circumstances. Most of the time when your players are running in your world, it's going to be very sparing that they're going to be in a situation where getting dream information is motivated by external forces. And here's an important point of order right away. Do not use, mundane, everyday dreams. They need to be sourced from outside the player, whether it's magic, either arcane or divine, whether it's the power of some creature or the power of a place. Because the thing is, all sentient creatures have dreams, so it's logical to extend this into the world of D&D. But dreams in this way, they serve a biological function. What exactly it is up to debate. But I call these mundane dreams, and I again insist, don't use these as a source of information for your campaign. Because once you allow, the biological mundane dreams to impart information onto your players, they're going to expect this, well, I go to sleep, do I have a dream and get the information? It's not motivated by the game action of your world. And it will help you avoid the temptation of just providing a dream, to help your players out of some jam, which is bad for your campaign. And what this outside source does is it gives the information of a dream, have some level of credence. Even if it's false, somebody out there is doing this for a reason. Whereas dreams that you have in your brain, they're just figments of your imagination. There's something that you already know. So a ring that does cause dreams has some kind of prophetic powers potentially because it is part of the magical web that holds reality together in D&D. So what you want to do is think about what is the purpose of this dream, this information or effect that's happening to the players. So information is an obvious template. So is it, giving clues to solving some mystery? Is it a cry for help? Is it a warning to stay away from some area or object? Or is it just to lend atmosphere to, some area or, building or something? It doesn't have any information per se. And the other thing is, why does this magical effect of this item, spell, or area, impact a sentient creature such that it has this, these dream sequences? So we would usually associate a dream response as being from some, highly, intellectual, powerful creature or effect. But, it might be some psychic pain, or emotive disruption that causes this effect as well. This is the classic ghost, haunting effect in which, when sentient creatures enter an area that's being haunted, they start to get visions and things and dreams. This is how the ghostly effect, the pain or, or anger or whatever the ghost is feeling enters into your player characters. But it could be the very fabric of a plane. Suppose you have, some dimension in which mental powers are greatly increased. You have psionic effects and things such that the players are taking in information in ways senses they don't ordinarily do, extrasensory things. And this way, dreams would be just another part of like seeing and hearing things. And then you want to know, how is the dream transmitted? Is it solely through the possession of some item, or is it the intervention of some other creature? Or is it just an effect of an area? Now, if you want to control the amount of work you want to do on these dreams, you can set up some ground rules and say, well, the first person that enters this haunted place starts having these dreams. You can tie it to a class or background. So, for example, you enter the cursed glade where some druid, was sacrificed here hundreds of years ago. If you have a druid in the party, or maybe a ranger or something, they're the obvious person to start having dreams about what happened. And in terms of how it's transmitted, we think of a ghost sometimes as caught in a loop. The dream images are just like a tape that repeats itself over and over, as opposed to some active personality, some powerful entity that's at this place and it's watching the players and it's thinking about them and transmitting information that changes, the longer the players stay there. And if you want to get ambitious and give each of the players an individual dream, we've all seen this kind of thing. It takes a lot of work. Much more to an active participant. This is what tells the players, if they're all seeing the same static dream, they know, okay, some kind of haunting here or something, versus, each of them receiving not only a different dream, but ones that change when they do things. So, for example, if the players are approaching a lich's lair and it's scrying them, it may begin giving out mental, images into their mind of their dreams, warning them to stay away or luring them closer. And then these are going to change as they get closer to a lich. Now, this is an extreme example. How often are players going to confront a lich? So let's say a long-dead wizard created a construct that uses mental energy to protect its area. So if you confront it directly, it uses force spells, psychic blast or confusion. But as you're approaching it, it has the ability to send out, feelers or whatever that give off these dreams. And if you're thinking for simplicity, a protective mental energy like this might have dreams that aren't even remembered, but the player characters don't get a good night's sleep. They start having mental, fog effects, minuses on their spells, or just exhaustion. Or it could create a lingering dread such that when the players finally do construct this mental construct thing, they're more susceptible to its powers. Now, in my opening example, I gave some of the classic dream cliches. Seeing someone, incongruously from my past that just appears. I try to run away and I can't move. My feet feel like they're just encased in lead. Just as I'm going to be caught, suddenly I can fly and I'm looking around, but then this ends in disaster. I hurtle towards the ground, and then just before I hit, I wake up. And I didn't realize I was dreaming until I woke up. We've all had that, and I will stress that last point. be careful about this. You don't want to have the players be in a dream sequence and not realize it. We see this in movies and whatnot, but here's the thing. I've taught writing to, students, high school students, let's say, and we'll get into a plot issue or writing some play or something, and they're like, how about we make it all a dream? And I'm like, no, no, no. That is a bad idea because there's nothing that irritates readers or audiences to discover that it's all been a dream because they've made a tremendous investment into this story and you just pulled the rug out right from under them. The same with D&D. When you're using a dream, the players themselves know that they're dreaming, even if the player character does not, because of course, just like in real life, they just wake up and go, oh, I was dreaming. If you're going to have them enter an illusionary realm or something like this, do it while they're conscious, while they're playing the game so that they realize, okay, there's some kind of effect going on. But you don't want to lose the reality and emotional investment of your world such that if the players at any time are suspect, wait a minute, am I in some kind of dream sequence here? It just hurts that. Which leads us back to the third point I made about using dreams in your campaign, which is to remember to make them dreamlike. This means it is non-linear. It does not ascribe to unity of time and place. People that are long dead can appear in them. They can act strangely, not like you remember them. They can speak in strange elliptical phrases. And the key thing here is to make it simple as opposed to difficult. Sometimes when we think, oh, I have to figure out who this person was and what their relationship, they give sort of elliptical, just some clues as to something that the players are approaching. So if there's some powerful entity that wants the players to stay away from an area and it implants a dream, the player is in some long, scary hallway, whispers and whatnot, and it comes to two doors and, they whisper the iron door, stay away from, take this door to freedom to get out. So then when the players go into the, abandoned temple or whatever, and they find the iron door, it's obvious, they said it was bad. And if you have a plea for help kind of a dream, then the players, perhaps they see the druid glade before it was cursed, it's beautiful foliage and wildlife, and then the player sees it all withering and whatever. Perhaps it sees some figure in the distance. How much information you want to give is up to you, but everything begins to wither and die, and then it comes down to one single beautiful flower, which perhaps the players see where it's buried, in some cave or in some location that they can identify if they go to the cursed glade. But the players can also feel that this, strange entity in the distance, it's still there, it's guarding this flower. So the players know where to go to perhaps get release the spirit of the druid, and they know that there's going to be something nasty there. And the final thing is atmospheric dreams. And we think of these, if you go to, think of like Barovia, in the Dark Realms or whatever, where you go to a place that is just cursed and, you're everything about you're going to feel depressed, a heaviness comes over you, so it would affect your dreams. And with atmospheric dreams, the sky's the limit on what you want to do. Players find themselves in their childhood, with people from there that aren't acting like they really act, and suddenly they're like sucked into the ground, and then they're in some, misty hellscape with whispers and whatnot. Now, you don't always have to make these disturbing, but that is the tendency, in literature and films. Think about, depictions of the future. They're always usually dystopian worlds of scarcity and violence. The film Blade Runner was created in 1982, and it portrayed LA of 2019, as perpetual drizzle and crime and all sorts of, violence. Well, I lived in LA in 2019 and it was a little different. So you could have, atmospheric dreams that give off pleasant imagery and whatnot, not as much conflict as those. Or you could make that more ambiguous. Parts of it are very scary and creepy, but somewhere there's a glimmer of hope. And with all of these things, you can have these ambiguous, a dream that gives the dreamer information about the past or potential information about what might happen in the future. So, there's a battlefield from 1,000 years ago, and one of the player characters has a dream in which they see this battle occurring, or they see a king being betrayed by his loyal, vizier. And you can go and move through time and space and give little snippets of, how this battle started or how this king or this vizier or what happened later, just to give the players some clues so that when they come to this, ruined keep or whatever, they have some information, things to look for, tapestries or doorways or areas. And you can have future events. Remember in Lord of the Rings when Pippin touches the Palantir and he sees this future, that one tree being killed. It looks like it's a possible future, but in fact what it is they see Sauron's desires. This is what he wants to come to pass. This can be really cool coming from a big bad villain. Like I said, what's critical when you have dreams that are motivated by some external force, if it is a personality, if it is the remnant, a ghost or whatever, they are giving the players potentially facts, right, which don't come from, real life dreams. So if you use dreams, very sparingly, always motivated by an external force that makes sense and is thought out, and it's dreamlike, elliptical, nonlinear, sparse, it can really make the imparting of information or atmosphere very prosaic, adds flavor to your campaign. So if you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel. I'm always looking for more. Please leave some comments. I love to read them. But most importantly, as always, keep playing D&D and tell somebody else about it.